is Joe Biden going to drop out of the presidential race in July, the month we're in right now? Because as it stands right now, there seems to be some indecision and split opinion on this.
Performance at last Thursday's debate reportedly has Hollywood donors in a panic. According to the trade publication Variety, they are threatening to withhold funding from all Democrat candidates unless Joe drops out.
So we're hearing that some donors, some major Hollywood donors, are wanting Joe Biden to drop out of the race. But from what we're hearing from Joe Biden's family, it sounds like they all want him to stay in the race, or at least parts of that family.
So apparently, folks, Joe Biden is not going anywhere, even as we learn shocking new details about his mental decline. The president huddling with his family over the weekend to do a photo shoot with Annie Leibovitz and to hash out what to do about the avalanche of calls to step aside. They reportedly urged him to stay in the race and want staffers fired for overloading Biden's brain before the debate.
So here's another clip about that meeting between Joe Biden and his family where apparently they wanted to blame basically everybody but Joe Biden for how poor he did in that debate.
Let's talk about the meeting that occurred over the weekend between Joe Biden and his family members. They were in Camp David, and they have decided to blame everyone else for Biden's failure while urging Biden to remain in the race. They argue that Biden was not prepared to pivot more to go on the attack. They're alleging that he was forced to spend more time defending his record rather than outlining his vision for the future. So in that regard, they're blaming the debate moderators. You've just been president for several years. I think you should expect to have to defend your record, but okay.
Now, on the subject of Joe Biden's family, some people are actually now questioning whether Dr. Jill Biden, the first lady, Joe Biden's wife, is partly to blame for trying to keep Joe Biden in this race longer than he perhaps should be.
Bill Ackman, the billionaire, posted this on X yesterday. He said, I no longer blame Biden for not stepping aside. He's no longer has the mental acuity to make important judgments about himself. It is becoming increasingly clear, however, that the fault lies with First Lady Jill Biden. And Michael, you know, a lot of people are going, nobody knows Joe better than her, and she's protecting him to the exclusion of the United States of America.
And besides billionaire investor Bill Ackman, many people have been wondering if Dr. Jill Biden is perhaps kind of encouraging Joe Biden, as I said, to stay in this race longer than he should, ever since this clip came out immediately following the debate where this clip went pretty viral.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
There are some people that think Joe Biden should stay in the race, or at the very least, that his debate performance won't really matter that much. A few of these people haven't got on CNN in recent days.
What's going to happen? Is Biden going to stay? And I think the answer to that is pretty clearly yes. Did this make a difference? And the answer to that is pretty clearly yes. But the difference is going to be small, and here's why. Only 4% of Americans are truly undecided.
So Frank Luntz here makes the point that, yes, sure, the debate will matter, but only a small percentage of Americans are actually undecided voters. But even if that's true, that small percentage of voters is always, like, the election usually is not won by this massive amount of percentage points. So that could potentially swing the election. Now, my other point is that I think this debate that we just all watched last week is an exception. That wasn't just a candidate having a poor debate. That wasn't Donald Trump, say, in 2020, talking over Joe Biden too much and not looking great to the undecided voter at home. This was Joe Biden struggling to string sentences together at multiple times. It didn't just happen once, didn't just happen twice. Pausing for long periods of time, seeming to forget his train of thought, his closing remarks as well. Like, people said, oh, he just started slow and then he picked it up. Here's a clip from his closing remarks.
Closing statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years.
And that was Joe Biden's closing remarks when Kamala Harris, vice president, and other people said that Joe Biden had a slow start. That was the end of the debate. So I don't think this was a normal debate. I don't think you can really analyze this in the context of, oh, it's just one tough debate for Joe Biden. It doesn't really matter. I think the entire country and the entire world saw on that stage Trump, who whatever, Trump's style lots of people don't like, and then Joe Biden, who that does not look like someone that should be leading the biggest military in the world, running the largest economy, or to whatever degree you think the government runs the economy. It has some role. So to the people who say, oh, the debates don't really matter, I just fundamentally disagree. This was a massive exception.
I think Democrats are way overreacting. Presidential debates have no predictive value for elections. Hillary Clinton won them all, still lost. John Kerry won the debates against George W. Bush in 2004 and still lost.
And so finally, what about top Democrats and top Democratic officials? Do they want Joe Biden to stay in the race? Because from what people have been hearing, this seems to be pretty split. Not everyone has the exact same message on this right now.
Is our nominee. Joe Biden is our leader.
Top Democrats closed ranks around the president Sunday as a slew of editorials from some of the nation's largest newspapers called on him to drop out.
I want to remind everybody that one debate does not define a person's record.
Very clearly, he should stay in this race.
And at least publicly, not many top Democrats have been saying explicitly, hey, we think Joe Biden, or I think Joe Biden should drop out. But apparently those are the sentiments and those are the words that are floating around behind the scenes.
Look, I've talked to some very prominent Democrats today. They're now, it's a two-step process. One is they don't think that Joe Biden ought to stay. They think that he needs to step away. They want to praise him for what he's done and who he is, but they don't think he can carry the torch. Secondly, then the question gets to be, well, then who takes his place? And that's a matter of who's going to have the, who's going to have the standing, who's going to fit, where people can say, oh, yeah, I sort of know that person. I respect that person. I think they could step in. And that will happen only if Joe Biden is able to bless that person, whoever it might be. There are a group of Democrats who are meeting and talking and deciding who can approach the staff, who can approach him to let him know that they don't think that he can do this.
So as you can see, there's certainly not a consensus right now about what is going to happen moving forward. And I think for the entire month of July, probably now until the entire election, unless Joe Biden actually does drop out, this will probably be number one or number two story in the news cycle until that election. Again, if Joe Biden decides to drop out in 2 weeks, that'll change. But I think this will definitely be something to continue to watch moving forward. Either way, we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Joe Biden will drop out in the month of July? Or do you think he's going to, at the recommendation of his family or perhaps other people around him, just try to refocus, lock in?
You'll know the level of locked in I'm going to be.
And prove people wrong by winning the election in November. But if you're asking my opinion, based on Joe Biden's debate performance, I think it's going to be quite a long shot for him to win. So with that said, thank you for watching the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have a good day.